In April 2018, I cycled into Lahore, Pakistan from Amritsar, India, via the Wakhan border, and witnessed this one-in-a-lifetime ceremony that cannot be found at the border anywhere in the world. It is the border closing ceremony where both of the countries participated in a rapid dance-like parade to symbolize the rivalry, brotherhood and cooperation the both countries share. Pakistan is one of the least traveled countries out there, and you can go for weeks without seeing a single foreign tourist. As I cycle into Lahore, which is just 26 kilometers from the border, traffic was light and not as crazy like in India, even if it is a small town. People are genuinely nice, and they have very beautiful truck too. I got to know Osama through a friend, and he was willing to allow me to camp at his house lawn. Together with two other of his friends, we cycled to have my first dinner in Pakistan together. Chaplin kebab, ground beef shape of a patty, then deep fried to crispy perfection outside but soft inside. Next morning breakfast we try paya. It is a goat trotter stew cooked with various spices. With just a month visa, I wanted to visit and cycle the nicest part in Pakistan. So I decided not to spend too much time in Lahore and took a bus ride to Rawalpindi before cycling a short distance to Islamabad. I was fortunate to have met a local scouter who connected me to the Pakistan Scout movement, where I was hosted and given a nice place to stay for a few days. Some of the best part of my journey is to enjoy their local cuisine. If you see lots of crowd, it only means two things. It is nice and cheap. I believe I came to the right place. Just look at how they make the puri flour before throwing into the hot oil. It is amazing. Another one of the staples here is the naan bread, and this one is usually baked in a tandoor oven. From Islamabad, I took a journey to Gilgit. With my bicycle strapped on top of the bus, the journey also comes with a bus conductor carrying a shotgun. The 476 kilometers ride to Gilgit travel along the famed Karakoram highway. I have to provide 6 copies of my passport to the bus conductor to be passed over to numerous security checkpoints. As the ride progresses into the long night, the road was bumpy, with many security checks along the way. The bus conductor would accompany the security officer to check on my passport while holding his shotgun. Later I asked him why. "It is for your protection," he says. There was a landslide during the early hours in the morning, and we have to wait 2 hours for the tractor to clear the road before moving on. After 18 hours, we finally reached Gilgit. This is where my real adventure starts. I stay at Medina 2 Hotel, which have a lovely courtyard with food street and surrounded with scenic mountains. As if that wasn't enough, the owner, Mr. Yaqub, was one of the nicest people I have met so far. I store my bicycle here before going to hike some of the beautiful mountains at Meadows. There are 3 stages that you will have to go through before getting to Ferry Meadow. I left the hotel for the bus station in order to catch a van ride to Raikot Bridge, located some 71 kilometers away. At the bridge, I then shared a jeep with 3 locals to get to Ferry Point. The ride was hair-raising and frankly, a scary experience. If you ever watch National Geographic The Most Dangerous Road, this is one of them. The road narrowed with a deep gorge to one side. A slight mistake and it was a 100-meter drop down to certain depth. I kept my eye fixed on the road ahead, as doing otherwise wouldn't be good for my poor heart. The 14-kilometer ride to Ferry Point was the last stop for the jeep, and also a meeting point with Ahmad, my personal guide. From here, it was a 3-hour hike up to Ferry Meadow Cottage, located 3,330 meters above sea level. Ferry Meadow was designated as a national park in 1995, attracting hikers and adventurers all over the world. It is a fairy tale-like beauty, surrounded by thick alpine forests, and its grassland are lush with greenery. I made special arrangement to camp here. Imagine waking up to this amazing view. The next day, together with Ahmad, we hiked up to Biao Camp. We were greeted by a picturesque postcard-like scenery of 6 snow-capped mountains with Raikot Glacier acting as a stage cutting across the mountain. Each peak have their own unique shape, decorative pine tree, and dressed with white snow. All of them for unparalleled beauty. We continue on to hike for about an hour through lush green forests, passing several streams. As we move higher, it begins to snow. Upon reaching the base camp, it's like a magical Christmas village, all white with beautiful mountains on both sides. BL Base Camp is at 3,500 meters above sea level. Small cabin dotted on both sides of the valley. It was quiet with not a single soul in sight. The experience is truly magical. It is snowing! Look at the view! We could not hike further to the viewpoint to see Raikot glaciers and Nanga Parbat closed because of heavy snow. So we decided to melt some fresh snow to cook our lunch. I once shared with my friend that I would like to see God's masterpiece on my tour. I believe I was blessed to see one of them on this trip. There was heavy snowfall in the middle of the freezing night. You can only imagine how the view will look like the next morning. The trip back down to Raikot Bridge was equally scary as the ride up. There are times when another jeep coming from the opposite direction. Both driver has to expertly position their vehicles so that there were just enough space to allow the other to pass. The vehicle is so close that you're able to touch the other jeep if you extend your hand. The bumpy ride continued on for 1.5 hours before we finally reached Raikot Bridge safely. And from here, I managed to hitch a ride back to Gilgit. I'm finally cycling the Karakoram highway starting from Gilgit. This route runs along the Hunza river and it is among the most picturesque route of my journey. My ride would end in Sos. Along the way, I would cycle to visit and hike some of the best parts in Pakistan. I could immediately see why so many good things are always said about riding here. The scenery was breathtaking. The road was nicely paved and runs along the valley flanked by tall mountains on both sides. I took my time to ride on the highway because the sights were just too beautiful not to slow down and admire them. There were several high passes where I could see green farmland and houses below. Life is hard here as I could see farmers manually plowing the soil on their potato farm. I met this bright boy who spoke good English while looking for a place to camp. Not only I got to camp at his parents' orchard, but got to know his whole family, his relative, and all his neighbors. The next morning, I'm back on the Karakoram highway. I pedaled off down the nearly empty highway and I felt like a king of the road. So I asked passing locals on their motorbikes to help me take photos in the middle of the road. My destination for the day is a small town called Islamabad, where I will be meeting my host, introduced to me by a Malaysian friend. Along the way, I saw this sign which happened to indicate the Old Silk Road. Locally known as Kinukutu, the section visible road was a pony track before it was widened to a jeep road in 1958. However, after the construction of the Karakoram highway, the Old Silk Road fell into disuse. The mighty Rakapushi, over 7,700 meters, greeted me when I entered Islamabad. I stayed with Kamal and his family, which I was given a very comfortable bed. He is a cherry farmer. They were warm, friendly, and very generous. I was invited to have dinner with the whole family. I have 50 kilometers to cover today on my ride to Karimabad. I could see the mighty Rakaposhi looms in the distance for most of my ride. But there were other deep valleys and mountains too, as equally impressive along the way. I stopped for lunch at a small town called Jaluk Garo, which is famous for this traditional Hunza dish called chop soro. Chop soro is filled with meat, either lamb, beef or yak, with onions, chili pepper, tomato and fresh coriander leaf. The mixture is then placed between two pieces of dough and the side nicely kneaded to seal it. The pancake-like pastry is then cooked over a hot plate and served warm. It is tasty and filling and costs only 120 Pakistan rupee per piece. I did not make it to Karimabad on time, so I managed to camp at an orchard in a small town called Mutazabad after asking permission from the owner. The next morning, I was surprised to be invited for a garden breakfast together with the owner's family. My short ride to Karimabad was easy. with some amazing view along the way, until I turned into the junction leading up to the town. It was a 2-kilometer stretch which required me to push up an extreme steep slope. It is hard pushing, but the view is really scenic overlooking the beautiful Hunza valley below. I stay in Old Hunza Inn for $8 a night. It is a touristy town with attractions like the Baltic Fort, Arctic Fort and the Eagle Nest Viewpoint. Besides the famous Walnut Cake and Western Cafe, Cafe de Hunza has the most reliable internet. If you miss your pizza, go to Pizza Premier to try their Yank Meat Pizza. Or go ride a Yank or a Yank Mobile. This one runs on petrol. This journey is challenging, long and hard, just like my life. It is at this moment I felt every bit of my effort in life is worth living for. I felt on top of the world. Words can't explain this amazing view of the valley up here. How I wish I have a pair of wings to fly and glide down this beautiful valley below me. I traveled on to Attabad Lake. Attabad Lake was formed after a massive landslide over the Hunza River, blocking access of the Karakoram highway to the upper region. A new road was then built by tunneling into the mountains. As I emerged finally from the 7-kilometer tunnel, the gorgeous ice blue lake greeted me. In the midst of this disaster, a new landscape was formed. Right ahead of me is the scenic Passu cone towering over the Hunza River. I'm to meet Raymond in a quiet village called Glacier, 3 kilometers up from the main road. I passed beautiful flowering apple tree as I reached the village to stay with his family. His house rooftop has one of the most beautiful scenic views of the village. And at their garden, full of flowering apple trees. Raymond runs a homestay and a hostel. It is also my guide to visit the Passu glaciers. Passu Glaciers is located in Goja region of Hunza. If you decide to see the paradise of the world, you should come here. The steep hiking trail besides the glaciers provides some stunning view of the surrounding snow-capped mountain and the beautiful glaciers in front. The picturesque hike back is equally rewarding as we make our way to visit the Husseini Bridge. And saw thundering water from the melting glaciers giving life to the Hunza River. On our second hike, it was a hike across the looking black glaciers to the Shepherd Hut up in the mountains. Along the way, I could hear the sound of rock falling and witness my first avalanche. As we make our way across, we could see the mighty force of the glaciers dislodge large boulders, rock and also loose soil, making the terrain very challenging to hike. Besides the amazing view, We encounter many wildlife along the way. Thanks to my tour guide for the experience of a lifetime. We continue the path that leads us to Borit Lake, one of the highest lakes in Pakistan. This lake is a nature sanctuary to peace, beauty and birds. Migratory birds visit here during the spring and autumn season. Isolated and silent make this place a meditative heaven, not only for nature seekers like me, but many birds and wildlife. Our hike ends at Borit village, where I stay in a house built of stone collected from the field. Here, we cook and share simple meals together. Surprisingly, they have a yak cow or a dizu. On my last day in Gokin, I hiked along Gurmit village road to see the beautiful Attabad lake from above. Leaving Gokin was easy as I rolled downhill all the way. But I was faced with hard climb once I got back onto the Karakoram highway. However, I knew they were nice views to keep me distracted from my aching leg muscle. I met my first Malaysian couple while taking photo beside the road, and later stopped at this restaurant for its famous apricot cake made by these two brothers, while enjoying one of the best Passu Glacier's view from up here. I was cycling like the king of the road with little traffic because it was the off-season. But come July to September, many locals would drive up to the cold mountains to escape the blistering heat in the south. And the scenery, it is second to none. The freedom and the jaw-droppingly beautiful scenery make it one of my best rides in Pakistan. As my journey here is nearer to the end, I will visit a small village called Glacier to meet this inspirational man, Mr. Rezal. Formerly a teacher, he is now a full-time social worker and is the head coordinator of the Kunjarab village organization. The village is blessed with spring water that never freezes even during winter. His untiring effort was used to plan, organize, and build water channel to irrigate the vegetable, fruit orchard, and power the flour mill using this water. He even built a 30 kilowatts hydroelectricity station to provide round-the-clock power supply to 50 households in his village. The water is then channeled into the troutfish aquaculture pond. When I stay in this dreamland hotel, the owner asked me if I like Pakistan. He was shocked when I answered him no, but burst into laughter when I told him I love Pakistan. How not to love this country when the people and the scenery is like paradise in a dreamland? My ride ends in Sos, which is the last town on the Karakoram highway before the Chinese border. It is an important town as the Pakistan immigration and the custom are based here. I cannot cross over to China on my bicycle, and passenger road services all starts at Sos. So I have to travel by bus to cross over to China. Pakistan and China have an open border for trade and tourism at Gujarat. Gujarat Pass is the highest border crossing in the world and the highest point on the Karakoram highway at 4,733 meters above sea level and only open between April 1st to November 30th. As we move higher, we could see more snow and the temperature become extremely cold. As we reach Gujarat Pass, there is also the world's highest ATM here. The pass was closed when we arrived early, and other vehicle was waiting as well to cross over to China. So it gave everyone a quick opportunity for some photo in this extreme cold. Finally, we were allowed to cross. I was excited and overjoyed. But it was short-lived as I encountered my first immigration nightmare. Click to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more video and information. Thank you for watching.